5. Yay! So this is Math 60, Intermediate Algebra, factoring polynomials, specifically trinomials, using a method called trial and error. And we just did a first page of what are usually considered very simple trial and error problems. This is going to be a much harder beast because this is different because of that 6. The 6 in front makes trial and error a lot more complicated. And let me say again that I teach trial and error because I do believe that if you put the work in, and it is going to take work, but it's a lot like working out any part of yourself. If you do the work to learn trial and error, you will learn how to factor polynomials faster and better than if you use the formula. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this page using trial and error, and then we will do it again using the formula in the next video. And so you'll be able to compare and contrast. And then for my class, you could choose to use either one. It's going to be completely up to you which one you use. But this is trial and error. Woohoo. So again, our basic assumption is that if we get an x squared and an x and a number, a trinomial that looks like this, that we then have the product of two binomials. And what we've got to do is figure out what goes in these places. So to begin with, before we had always had an x squared, just x squared. And so how do you make x squared? You multiply x times x. In this case, the x squared actually is 6x squared. So we could have 3x times 2x, right? That would give us 6x squared. Or we could have x times 6x. Now you could write either one of these in either direction. So basically we're going to have 3x and then something and 2x and then something. Or we're going to have x and something and 6x and something. So this means there are two possibilities for the starting point. Now the ending point, 10, it's a positive 10, but I'm going to look very carefully and I'm going to see, ooh, there's a minus there, which tells me I have to use negative numbers. So when I'm using negative numbers to make 10, this could be, what could it be? It could be negative 1 times 10. It could be negative 2 times, oh, sorry, negative 1 times negative 10. I'm so sorry, because it's supposed to be a positive 10. Negative 1 times negative 10. Negative 2 times negative 5. And I think that's it. But wait, there's something else. Because these two possibilities have 3x and 2x or x and 6x, these don't match. Neither of these match. That means that negative 1 and negative 10 would not be the only way to write it. We could also write it as negative 10 and then negative 1, or negative 5 and negative 2. So each of these two possibilities is actually turning into 4 possibilities. That was very exciting. And so I've got 2 possibilities over here. And 4 possibilities over here. And altogether, 2 times 4 is going to give me 8. So let me write these out for you. Now, this is not the fun part of trial and error. And this is the part that I'm going to tell you in the beginning. If you decide to embark on using trial and error, it's going to be a lot of work. And generally speaking, you will choose poorly. But if you stick to it and you keep practicing, your brain will get really good and you won't have to go through all of this trouble. Like at this point now, I can look at these numbers and come up with suggestions in my head without having to go through all of this. But this is what it would look like. Let me scooch this up. So here are all 8 possibilities. And you see I've got the beginning 3x and 2x with -1, -10, -10, -1, -2, -5, -5, -2. And then I did the same pattern, but with x and 6x. And these 8 possibilities are what you would have to multiply out. Now, as soon as we come up with the correct, we pick the right one, we're done. So that's what I mean by being able to choose well. So for example, if I just start going through these, let's see, I've got 6x squared minus 30x minus 2x plus 20. I'm going for, oops, let me scooch this down so you can remember. In the middle, I'm looking for a -19. This is not going to give me a -19. So I can tell this is not going to work already. And this one, 6x squared minus 3x minus 20x plus, oh, I'm sorry, this should be 10 right there. Sorry about that. Plus 10, that should be 10, sorry. I got so excited. -1 times -10 is a positive 10. Again, this is closer because this is going to give us 6x squared minus 23x plus 10, which is closer, but we really want that 19. So if you look through this, you'll see that there are a lot of different possibilities. Some of them are going to be way too big. For example, if we look here, this one, if we multiply this one out, we get 6x squared minus x minus 60x plus 10. So that's 6x squared minus 61x plus 10. That's way too big. And so that's what I mean by you don't have to multiply them all out if your brain starts to notice the patterns. But let's go through and we can go to this next one. This guy is going to be 6x squared minus 15x minus 4x minus 10, or sorry, plus 10. And that gives us 6x squared minus 19x plus 10. Oh my gosh, we got lucky. Third one out. This is how you, oops, sorry, let me scooch it up. This is how you factor. So with this one right here, this is how you factor this one. The other thing that this does, though, this makes your FOIL much faster. So this is a lot of practice with FOIL. And the thing is all of these other possibilities are all polynomials I could also ask you to factor in the future. So this does give you practice. It gives your brain a chance to see, kind of get this preview of all these other polynomials. So far, so good. Let's try something slightly different. And here, I'm going to say, okay, so let me write this down right here, and you'll see why I'm doing it in just a little bit. Let me write it down at the bottom. 6x squared minus 19x plus 10, and that's going to be 3x minus 2, 2x minus 5. Okay, a little sideways, but now let's look at this one. Now the second one on this page, it's like, oh no, I have to do this whole thing again. And the answer is no, you don't. Notice what we've got here. 6x to the 6th minus 19x to the 5th plus 10x to the 4th. So the point of this one is when you get a polynomial to factor, always factor out the common factors. There's a common factor of x to the 4th. That's 6x to the, 6x squared minus 19x plus 10 when I factor out the x to the 4th. And then I get, what do I get? Oh, then this is just that. So this is x to the 4th times 3x minus 2 times the quantity 2x minus 5. Bing, bang, boom, and we're done. Woo! Okay, next up, the next video will show you how to factor this same polynomial, but with the formula.